Hello and welcome back, and today I want to carry on talking about the brand new 53D series from QNAP. I want to talk to you guys about how to do several things when you've got hold of the NAS for the first time. I've already done my first time setup guide for you guys in part 1, and in today's video we're going to look at how to create individual users and accounts, groups, how to set up a network file share, so in other words a folder on your local NAS, your local PC or Mac system so you can interact with it locally, and finally how to establish internet access to your NAS. That is to say, have a connection to your QNAP NAS over the internet anywhere in the world, safe and securely and reliably. So a few disclaimers straight off the bat. First thing, I am utilizing the 653D today, and this is a NAS that I'm using for a whole bunch of videos in this series. However, it is still completely applicable if you're using the 253D, 453D or 653D, as well as pretty much any QNAP NAS. So bear in mind that even if you don't own this particular 53D, these steps will apply to your 53D NAS or most other QNAP NASs. Next, I am using an 8GB model. You might be using the 4GB model. That does not make any difference to the steps today. It will obviously affect things on larger scales in terms of memory and general usage, but I've got an 8GB model, so even if yours is an 8GB, that won't make a difference. Finally, I have installed loads of apps here. You probably aren't going to use all of these, and most of my videos are going to cover most of these apps, but the only ones that we're going to look at today are a handful. And on top of that, it would help with this video later on if you are utilizing the QNAP QFinder tool app that you get for free from QNAP that lets you search your local area network. It's not essential, but it will make certain stages of this video a great deal easier. So here we are on the desktop here of our QNAP NAS, accessible via the web browser, although there's lots of different ways to access it. And today we're going to look at individual ways in which you or other users may wish to interact with the device on a file level. So first and foremost, you're going to need to create some users, because when you set the device up for the first time, the first account you have is an admin account, and this account, although very, very useful, isn't one that you want to give everyone to utilize. Whether it's friends, family, colleagues, you don't want them having admin access. You want to create multiple users, and that's what we're going to do here. Go into the control panel, which is available on the list from the drop down menu at the top via your web browser, and select control panel. It'll open this window here. Head down to the privileges section and go to users. Now before we do that, there are different ways to do this: users and user groups. User groups are kind of like departments. These are subgroups within groups. In other words, users can be a bunch of individual people. They'll have access to different folders, they'll have access to different apps, they'll even have a certain amount of storage access on the NAS. User groups are when you have a preset group, so in terms of business that might be sales, logistics, management, that kind of thing, or in home groups that could be children, adults, relatives, and more. These user groups and users will have different credentials, but a user group can be batches of people, whereas users are individual. Let's go for a user first. Now, when we create a user, we have two options. We can create one user or multiple users, but we can also download an existing CSV, if we have one from a business stance, of users that exist, that have their own emails, that have their own login information, user account settings, that can all be imported onto the device or from another QNAP NAS. For now, let's create one user to show you how easy it is. You can give that person a photo if you choose. So let's give them a photo of a photo that I used during my unboxing. Next, we've got to give them a name. So we're going to call this user Alan, and we've got to give them a password. I'll give them a password now. Now, generally, it will warn you about weak passwords. As you can see, I've gone for a very basic password there. We can also give that person a phone number. We can give their email address. And if you're going to be utilizing notifications or some of the more interesting QNAP applications, you may want to give that user an email address. You can also set up whether they'll get notifications from the NAS for different apps and setup, but you can also set that up with regards to the apps. So if you have set up user groups, you can add individual users to groups here. So let's create a group here, a new user group. Let's call this group family. And that user group of family, we can add that person to that group if we choose, but they can also be in multiple groups if you so choose. So if you don't want them to have administration rights, you can disable admin rights straight away there. So next, scroll down, and then we can say which folders this user can interact with. These are all the folders currently on the NAS. So we can say whether we want them to have no access at all, have complete access, so they can read and write and delete items, or read-only access, which means they can see the files and access the files. They can't edit though, and they can't delete the files. So for now, let's give them access to the multimedia file, as well as the read-only access to the download folder, but give them no access to anything else. We're going to give them no access to any of the other files and folders. Next, the applications. If your NAS, like this one, has lots of apps pre-installed, you can decide which apps they can access. So let's say we only want this user Alan to be able to access photos, video and music. So we will disable access to Download Station, QSearch, File Station, we'll give them File Station, and we'll give them access to, we'll remove WebDev, we'll disable everything but multimedia applications. And now we click create. Now as you can see, it won't let us proceed until we've entered a secure password, which we've done there, as you can see. I say secure, let's be realistic, that is not a secure password. So then we click create. Now we're creating our brand new user Alan. Now we can create lots of users, or we can create multiple users, where with the multiple option we can add a name prefix such as user, and then we can say user 1, and we can say it's 5 users. We can give them all the same password, like so, and then click next. You can say if you want them to have their own individual file and folder structure, so that means each user will have their own direct folder, and then it's going to create the users. If we gave them their own files and folders, it will then ask us how much storage we want to give them, as well as the applications. And there you see, we've now created all of those users. Now right now I'm utilizing this device as an admin with all of my admin credentials. I can see all the folders and files I want, and I can have all the access I want to everything on the device. But let's take a look at how the user Alan that we've just created is able to see this device. So let's log out. And right now we are using OBS here to record the screen, so there may be a slight lag when we're screen recording, but now we're going to log in as Alan. Using the credentials we've created, we're now logging into the device as Alan. It will ask us about the data agreement. It will ask us if we agree to the background data, the metadata and usage of hard drives and stuff to be shared with QNAP servers, but it's worth highlighting that is just analytical data and not your data. As you can see, there's our photo that we created earlier on for our account, and now it's treating us like we've just started the device for the very first time. This user doesn't have any apps on screen, and if we go to the side menu, we can see the apps that we allowed this user to have access to. If we go to File Station, we have significantly fewer files and folders that we can access, only the ones we deemed accessible to this user. We can access the multimedia apps, but no more than that. And you can do this for that user, and even if that user utilizes this account for DLNA media streaming, Plex Media Server, or any third-party application, they will only ever have access to the files and folders that their user account has access to. Now, groups, as mentioned, can be created within that user menu quite easily. When we are in the user groups menu, we are able to assign our user Alan to a user group. But from the user groups tab, we can then create more groups as well as edit the roles of that user. Say for example we are in a business capacity and we wanted a group for the salesman in the team. From here we can create a new group that we can then decide which one of our users, so let's say users 1, 2 and 3 have access to the sales group. Then the sales group, we can then change just how many files and folders that user, that account has access to. We've said that it's those users there. We can then change the file permissions and say which apps and which files and folders we want them to have access to, such as test share, and we can even make sure that they can read files but they can't edit them, which may be important in a business capacity. And it's that straightforward to give your user groups access and then add users to those existing groups. Next, we want to talk about creating a network file share. Whether you're utilizing this as an admin or you're utilizing this as a general user or one of the ones with streamlined access, if that user or the admin has access to a mapped network drive, they can then access this NAS as if it appeared locally. A lot of you don't want to deal with the NAS and its file management via a web browser like this. It has to be said, the file management tool on the QNAP is still very, very good, and there are lots of tools you can use to search proactively and intelligently. Here's all of our file structure, but if we want to search for files, and it's particularly general files that we want to search for, we have two options. First and foremost, we can use the QFiling tool that is utilized as a smart and business quality means to create piles of your files and folders in intelligent files. So we can create filing tasks where certain kinds of files and certain media sources will then be redirected and redistributed into preset files and folders on your system. It's quite straightforward, very easy to navigate, and it's not dissimilar to a lot of business tools that you have to pay for via third-party means, with this tool being included inside your device. On top of that, you have got QSearch, which is a user-friendly search tool that utilizes the same logic as you might find in Google to search your NAS for files and folders. It's really straightforward and incredibly quick. You can do a manual search, you can do searches of areas, and there's lots of internet plugin tools as well. You don't have to just search the NAS. So, say for example, I'm looking for a TV show. Now, on this TV show here, if we look at my video station tool that I've already installed, you'll see that I've already added a bunch of TV shows. I've added episodes of old TV, I've added episodes of Mr. Bean here, and I can browse and watch those in a video capacity. But say I was trying to find some obscure episode. Say I wanted to search Bean. It will search the NAS and immediately find all of those files for me that are on the NAS. But it will go further than that. As you can see, in this file here marked Ludicrousmas 6.5, which is a document from a party I attended, it has found the word Bean inside the document in live text. On top of that, you can see that text being found inside configuration tools and inside zipped up files and folders. So it really is a diverse and fast tool that will dig very, very deep into your NAS. You can even configure a lot of the search tools for things to be included or excluded for a far more customizable search. And remember, it can be utilized in a wider form beyond just your NAS. You can utilize filters here to only look for certain kinds of data, and you can go particularly deep. But what if you do want to access your data locally on your PC? What if what you want to use is simply just the file management of your Windows machine or even Mac? It's quite straightforward. What you need to do is mount a network drive. Now to do this, head into File Station. What you're going to need to do is make sure you've got at least one shared folder. There's standard folders, which are just folders like any other machine, any other file management tool. But a shared folder is a folder on the NAS that allows you to access it outside of the NAS. So if you're going to be utilizing access to data on the local area network, this is what you're going to need to do. So say you wanted to create a folder called test. Now, this, you can say where this is going to live. So if you have multiple areas of storage on your NAS in terms of different volumes, you can select where you want this to live. You can change the admin and privileges. And if you've already created those users and groups, you can edit it here to say which one of those users can access this shared folder. So say we wanted to use Alan, but we can just tick there for read-write access or tick there for read-only access. On top of that, you can add a whole bunch of other tools with regards to recycling bins, with regards to encryption, even with shared background snapshots and other more impressive business tools. You can even utilize it for time machine backups in conjunction with the Mac OS, another reason why Mac users might want to use a mapped network drive. But for now, let's click Create. It's now going to create a new shared folder. Now, I've already created some shared folders in the background, so you won't have to wait for this. As you can see, it's already finished. There is our new, let's have a look, test shared folder. I've already created one earlier here. Now, once you've created your shared folder, you have to head back to the tool we had at the beginning, QNAP QFinder Pro. Scan the local area network and find your NAS here, but don't double click as you normally would. Right click and go to Map Network Drive. It will ask you to log into the NAS for the first time. If you haven't gone into the tool like I have for a while, it will need to rescan the area network. But once it finds the NAS, it will ask you to log in. Click OK, and from there, it will then list all of the available shared folders on the NAS. As you see, our test and test share folder are here. Now, if we go for the test share folder I created earlier, which has data inside, we can click Map Network Drive. It will then ask you to assign a letter for this mapped network drive. Let's give it the letter Q. Next, click Finish, and now it's created that mapped network drive. As you can see, now there's all my local files and folders on my PC, but now a new one has appeared as my shared test drive. Inside here, there is live data that exists both in this folder and on the NAS simultaneously. So as you can see, both of these files and folders are exactly the same, but the one on the right is on my local PC, and the one on the left is via the web browser on the QNAP NAS. It's that straightforward. And it really is that easy. You can delete a file or folder from the local PC and it will instantly sync and be deleted on the NAS. I'm not going to delete these because we have a whole bunch of tests planned for this NAS, and these files are selected because they contain every kind of file type from ISOs to docs and more. Which leads us to the final part of our video: how to establish internet access to your NAS anywhere in the world while still being safe. In order to establish internet access safely, the first thing you need to do is head up to the main menu, scroll down to My QNAP Cloud. This is where the system will invite you to create a My QNAP Cloud account. This allows you to access this NAS safely. The way it works is that you will contact the My QNAP Cloud server, which will then ping down to the NAS and give you a funnel with which you can access your NAS through their server. Remember, you're not going to be transferring files through that funnel directly while you're configuring it, although if you upload and download, that may be a factor. So in order to get started, click the Get Started tab, unsurprisingly. It will ask you to go through the steps of creating a My QNAP Cloud account, or if you've already got one using that, register the NAS and link the two together, and then you can access remote services. Next, click Start. From here, you can either create a brand new QNAP ID if you choose, where here it will invite you to enter your information or link to an existing account, and then create the My QNAP Cloud. It's incredibly straightforward and doesn't take more than a couple of minutes. I've already created an account, which I'm going to enter here. Once you've entered your credentials, click Next. It will check and find the My QNAP Cloud account via their servers, and ask for you to connect these two up. The next thing you need to do is name your NAS, because this is where the device will be listed on your system. I'm going to call this device TS653D. Bear in mind that some may already be taken, and if they are, it will invite you to create a new one. It looks like this one's available. So after this is the URL you're going to need to access the NAS via your web browser, but it's not the only way you can do it. So moving forward, we click Next. It will then let you know that it's going to set up stuff in the background to allow a safe and stable portal access point to this NAS. You can even change the access controls to be even safer for your bespoke setup needs. And now it's going to register the device with my QNAP cloud and then set up network connectivity and a safe DDNS protocol between me and the NAS via the internet. If you're utilizing the client tools for iOS and Android or the desktop tools, all you'll need to utilize is your QNAP cloud login or the name of your device, along with your login credentials for the username and password. As you see, it's set up the QNAP cloud and registered this new device on that QNAP cloud. So we can click Finish. And now it's refreshing and it's creating the link to this account. Now, once again, there are multiple ways to access this system now. You can head to this URL bar here, and if we go to it there, it will then access via that URL internet access to your NAS. Next, you can go directly to this URL here, which is a smart, shorter URL that you can use in any web browser to access your NAS, but you'll still need all of your login credentials in order to get in. Thirdly, if you're using the mobile app or desktop applications that ask you to enter the address of your device, you can use your full access login or otherwise. There are lots of ways in which you can connect your QNAP cloud to your NAS and utilize lots of different clients to access your QNAP NAS. You may have noticed that web connectivity here is listed as X. The reason being, in the background, I am doing lots of stuff with my internet connectivity, downloading applications and an ISO for virtualization. Consequently, my network connectivity is incredibly busy. On top of that, there are additional applications that you can download, as well as services for even secure access with SSL certificates readily available in the App Center. But I'm going to wrap things up. This has been how to set up users, accounts, network shares and internet access on your brand new 53D QNAP NAS. I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and I've got more videos coming up on this device being made every single day. Thank you so much for watching. Click like if you've enjoyed it, click subscribe to learn more about this device and how to use it, and I'll see you next time.